Hello, one and all. This might be My Hero Academia, Chapter 297, Tartarus. And I find it particularly strange that this was a prison break where I couldn't actually root for the guards. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm definitely not on Shigaraki's side. But, I mean, this place is literally referred to as the dark side of Quirk Society, where anyone imprisoned will never again emerge alive. Yeah, that's disturbing. And the one guard actually refers to the inmates as disgusting beings and describes them as basically being animals. And his fellow guard doesn't seem all that upset with what he's saying, more so worried that they're being recorded and that's going to be used to fire them because they already have a whole bunch of accusations of violating human rights. So yeah, this prison is definitely not a good place. Probably not a place that should exist. I mean, there's definitely an issue when you treat inmates as inhuman, disgusting beings. Mainly the fact they just get worse and worse instead of, improving in any way whatsoever. I know it might seem like all the prisoners we see are absolutely horrible people who are, beyond all redemption, but the only prisoners we see are on the deepest stratum, the deepest of the deep, the level that All For One is in. Basically the place you go after you commit mass murder. So I really don't know, what the prisoners are like up on the higher levels, and yet the description seems to imply that everyone, who's here is here for life. There are no early releases, no parole. There's no even attempt at rehabilitating them whatsoever. And yeah, absolutely, a lot of these people, they are absolutely, completely beyond redemption. There's no way in God's green earth that they're gonna, suddenly turn around and become functioning members of society, but I think there should at least be an attempt to try it. I mean, let's look at this whole list of inmates we have. Okay, first we have Muscular. Okay, yeah, he's probably should be in that cell locked up for the rest of his life. I agree with you on that one. Might help, if they deal with his anger issues a little bit, but not a whole lot more they can do besides that. In the next cell over, we have Moonfish, who I think we can all agree is suffering from severe mental illness. Seriously, give this guy some antipsychotic meds and a therapist, and he could probably be released back in society, or at least put into a much less secure facility. And then we have Overhaul, and just why? Why is he in the deepest level of Tartarus? I mean, this dude lost his freaking arms. That's how, he uses his quirk. He can't even be considered a villain anymore, just a regular criminal. So I feel like he, could be stored in a much less secure facility, or at least, higher up. This is, like I said, the lowest level, the place where they keep the most dangerous people. I'm sure there's a more dangerous villain who could use that cell than him, and quite frankly, he just seems really, really broken this chapter. Like, incredibly so. I am seeing a lot of theories online saying that Overhaul is going to get some sort of redemption arc moving forward, and while I find that's very, very unlikely, if he could obtain the slightest bit of, empathy, emotions, humanity inside of him, I think it would help Ares so much if, he were to actually apologize to her. If he were to say, I'm sorry for what I did to you. It wouldn't, cure her PTSD, but I think it'd be a great step moving forward. Then we have this girl. Who the freak is this girl? Seriously, I spent a very long time racking my brain trying to remember who she was. I went through the My Hero Academia wiki. I went through all the people who were working under Overhaul. I mean, she opened his prison cell, so I thought maybe she worked for him. Did not recognize her, Finally went online, asked the, Reddit page, and they said, oh no, she's new. We've never seen her before. I'm like, oh, thank you freaking God. So who exactly is she? I mean, the theory I've seen for her is that, she's an undercover cop like Hawks who is here just in case there is a prison break, so that she can monitor and detain the criminals who escape. Unlikely, but maybe. I mean, she does seem, more human than a lot of the people we see in these cells, and yet she's in the deepest level of Tartarus, so I don't know, I think it'd be a very interesting story with her. Maybe she's not like a bad person, maybe she's like a super dangerous quirk, and she did something by accident, so they arrested her and detained her in the worst part of Tartarus because they thought she was just too dangerous to, let go into the outside world. I'm not sure, but I'm 100% convinced that we're going to find out something about her, some background story, and she's going to end up being important moving forward. Then I'm fairly certain we see Stain in the bottom right-hand corner of the page. He's looking a little broken himself, but I'm pretty sure last time we saw him in Tartarus, he was, bound and gagged like Muscular is, but now he's just, freely able to walk around his room. Is it a chance he's also obtained some sort of redemption while his time in prison? Like maybe when he learned the truth about All Might, when he learned the truth that the number one hero he idolized wasn't actually that. All heroes can't be perfect. They need to have basically a life outside of hero work. They can't work themselves to death, something like that. So he calmed down, and eventually the guards managed to, give him a little more freedom, a little less restrictions to his movements. I'm not sure, but that's definitely interesting. Also going to be very interesting to see what happens next chapter when Shigaraki tries to free him and the rest of the prisoners. I feel like he's going to say no. I'm fairly convinced he's going to say no, and that could lead to a fight, Shigaraki versus Stain. I don't exactly like his chances of winning, but maybe? Especially if we got a little backup, because we also see Kurogiri in the prison cell, and he's looking a little bit defeated, looking a little bit deflated. So is it possible he's managed to wake up, his true person inside of him, and then he'll be able to reject Shigaraki, he'll be able to say no to him, because if he doesn't have him, if Shigaraki doesn't have his teleporter, he can't actually, get off of Tartarus, or maybe he'll just end up making that as, his Demon Lord castle. Tartarus will be his home base where he reigns supreme, more or less. Curious? Though I guess he does manage to take control of the entire facility. He can just, put the bridge back up. That's another option. And this is, definitely a secure prison. I absolutely freaking love, it's 5 kilometers away from the mainland, and the bridge goes underwater as soon as Code Red happens, so the villains can't escape. And, they have freaking drones and giant fighting robots look very similar to the ones that UA used. I'm curious about that. So, yeah, they're definitely ready for almost anything, and they might have won, except for the fact that Shigaraki was able to attack from, the inside and the outside at the same time. While outside, All For One used an EMP to knock out their security, inside, All For One used the chance where it wasn't being monitored to open all the doors and let all the prisoners free. Yay! We also see a rather interesting discussion between Shigaraki and All For One, and it definitely seems, at least to me, confirm that All For One's plan is to make Shigaraki the next him. He's going to be the next vessel. Essentially, All For One will take over his body completely, erase his soul, his mind, whatever, imprison it inside of him, and he can completely be Shigaraki, that he can completely have a new, healthy body that isn't, I think as someone describes in this chapter, potato-faced. Which, okay, that's going to be absolutely terrifying, and would definitely confirm a theory I've had for a while now. The final battle is going to be inside the Quirk realm, and it's going to be Shigaraki and Deku versus All For One, and I'm so excited to see that happening. Oh, that'd be amazing. Anyway, then we see the guards react to the escape, and I'm pretty sure this one guard who was about to say before he was murdered that they should shoot any prisoner they see on sight. And hey, Muscular's back. I did not want him to be back. Certainly wasn't expecting him back, though I am very excited to maybe see a rematch between him and Deku. I mean, Deku becomes so much stronger now. I feel like it wouldn't even be a close fight, but that would be amazing to say. Also, how's Koda going to react to all this? Because, that's his parents' killer, so I feel like he's going to have a very negative reaction to that, and I don't know, maybe he's going to want to go in hiding, maybe he's going to be worried about what's going to happen next. I'm curious. Moonfish also shows up and stabs a bunch of people while screaming out flesh. Like I said, you guys really should have tried some more antipsychotics on this dude. Rainbow-haired girl lets out Overhaul for some reason. I mean, again, she seems nicer than the other inmates here at the very least, and Overhaul just yells out boss, so yeah, is he looking for the head of the Yakuza he worked for? Like I say, he definitely seems defeated and broken and just kind of a little bit dead inside. Anyway, then All For One shows up, his true body, announcing he's going to become the next Demon Lord, the greatest Demon Lord of all. And a lot of people are making fun of that, mocking him. What do you think this is, a fantasy series? I mean, why not? This has basically been a comic book since the first freaking chapter. This is a series of superheroes and supervillains. I'm pretty sure it's even been said, the term villain originally came from, comic books and Saturday morning cartoons. So why not throw in a Demon Lord while you're at it? It makes about as much sense as anything else. So what exactly is his plan now? I mean, like I said, he can't really escape without Kurogiri unless maybe he takes control of the bridges and puts them back up again. Or is he just going to turn this, the whole Tartarus prison into his own personal castle? I'm assuming he's going to kill any inmate who, doesn't acknowledge him as basically their god, so that'll be fun to say. Also, another interesting note, Seiji Shikura. Remember him? He was from the hero licensing exam. He was from another hero school. His quirk turned people into meatballs. I was suspecting, actually, a few chapters ago that maybe he was a descendant of Mr. Compress and secretly a villain in disguise. But it was said that his father actually works in Tartarus. In fact, he designed his hero costume off their uniform. So, interesting? Was his father just, brutally murdered? Was he off duty? I feel like that's not a detail, they'd include for no reason. So, it's very likely, moving forward, he's going to be on a quest for revenge against Shigaraki and All For One for murdering his father. Or maybe the other way around. Maybe his father was actually a spy for All For One and for Shigaraki, and he helped him plan this whole escape. I could certainly say being the case. I mean, like I said before, his quirk is very similar to Mr. Compress's, so maybe, they're related somehow, like he's his uncle, granduncle, something like that. And so, yeah, Shigaraki and All For One managed to capture a prison in the span of one day and now have an army of villains at their disposal. That's bad. That's bad. I said before, they basically have everything they need to already take over Japan as it is, but even more so now, he can basically just march these villains to the capital of Japan and declare, I am your new emperor. Worship me or I will murder you. And there's not a whole lot anyone can do about it. I mean, this is the same night as all those heroes were just killed, injured, taken out, whatever. So, yeah, that's bad. That's very bad. There's really no one who can resist him at all. That being said, I think there might be some resistance from the prisoners. I mean, there are some who just, aren't going to like him or want to resist against him, aren't going to, want to work for someone else. I could certainly see Muscular not wanting to work with Shigaraki again and getting his butt kicked, which I would absolutely freaking love. Besides him, there's Stain, Overhaul, maybe Korigiri, and possibly the rainbow-haired girl, who I'm just now noticing when she opens Overhaul's doors, her arms are glowing. There's some sort of super strength, the ability to break through locks, something like that. I don't know. I'm very curious about that, though. So yeah, that was a really fun chapter, and I cannot freaking wait for next week. I mean, seriously, we just ended, the biggest arc in the entire history of this series. Every single hero and villain we've seen up to this point clashing together. But nope, now we're coming into a next arc where all the villains, even the ones that were, arrested, considered off the board, are now back in play, and I really, really don't know what's going to happen next. Like I said, there's going to be some resistance to Shigaraki's plan. If he can't use Korigiri, then is he going to somehow manage to take control of the facility? He does have this one guard in his hand, so I'm assuming he didn't want him to die. And maybe he can use, thumbprint, iris scan, something to take control of the facility, to activate the bridge, or do something else with it. Just, make this his own personal castle, which he is the king and god of. That seems unlikely, though, because, if he is actually basically isolated with just a whole bunch of other villains on this 1 mile long island, 5 kilometers off the coastline, I feel like the government would just decide, yeah, let's nuke him and just send a missile and take them all out. I mean, sure, they might have guards as hostages, but it feels like that would just be the smartest thing they could possibly do at this point. But let me think of all this down below. What's his next move? Is Shigaraki going to keep fighting back against All For One? Or is he going to accept him because he wants his revenge and destruction and all that? And All For One is still promising him that. It's very clear he's a puppet at this point, but I guess we'll see what happens with that. Also, what do you think of Rainbow-Haired Girl? What's her quirk? Why is she in prison? What's she ended up doing? Very curious about all of that, but please let me know what you think down below. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss my next video. And until then, peace!